Is this, we're live? Oh my goodness, am I really live? Let's go check. I always have a problem with this step. Okay, yes, I am live. I can see it right here. Awesome. Let's see if I can hear myself. It's always a good sign. Hope everyone's doing okay, by the way, if this is all working. I always will need to test here. So I'm never sure myself. Yeah, it's working. Awesome. Can I hear myself here? Yep. Awesome. Just going to pause that so there's no feedback. Awesome. Hello, everyone. There are already people on the chat here. Nice to see everyone today. Just one of my random lives like I've been doing here. A lot of drama going on internally with everything. It's called life, right? So figured just may as well go live and hang out instead of just basically not doing much, right? So yeah, just made myself a coffee and keeping myself warm that way in Northern Ontario here. Really cold snap, but I see in the weather map that it's actually hitting most of North America. So, but in Northern Ontario, we're like right in the dead center of it right now. So it was near minus 30 last night. Hearing the building going crack, pop, boom at 3 in the morning. What the hell's going on here? And that's Northern life for you. So hope everyone has their way of coping with it if you have to deal with it. Some people are a little more lucky if you live in the South. Not a fan of winter. I know I keep saying it. Oh my goodness, people from Ireland. Hello, everyone. And Spain. Oh my goodness, I must be on a really prime time zone here. Awesome. Here it is. Well, not that late, 6:56 p.m. where I live. And it's not quite winter yet, but it feels like winter. We've had like several snowstorms and blizzards already. So, wow. I had an experience today uptown. It was about minus 25. You know, cars around here don't start. They have a hard time starting if you don't plug them in. And the block heaters, we need to install those around here. Most cars have them by default in the dealerships because we're just up north. And I didn't plug my vehicle last night. And I didn't have to because even though it got really cold, it was pretty well borderline, you know. So it was like minus 25 by the time noon came around. So I needed to go do some errands uptown. Start the car. No, this is a brand new 2025 Kia Soul, by the way. So the new model. Just bought it like in the spring. Did pretty good. Just basically bought it cash. I don't believe in, you know, this stuff about credits, and if you don't have the money, that's just my philosophy. Don't do it, right? So needless to say, I was saving for a while, and I bought this car just to get around, right? Not a fancy car or anything, but it's a pretty decent size, by the way. So it does its purpose. But being a Kia, right? But they just had the best deal. It wasn't because, you know, that's what brought me to it. So anyways, back to my story here. Brand new car. Hardly drove it all summer because everything here is like a block away. It's just for convenience. If I have groceries or something, right, you need the trunk. But other than that, it's like, you know, why drive it for the corner store when it's like 200 feet away? So, yeah, so needless to say, one of those days today, needed to do some groceries, whatnot. So start the car up, minus 25, no problem. Car starts. I scrape the ice and everything off. So it runs for about half an hour in a parking lot here. As I'm getting it all cleared, scraped, and warmed up, the windows defrost, it heats up all the way to the max here. So I head up out town. No problem, get there, do my errands. And about an hour later, go to start the car, put the key in there in the ignition, nothing, just like. And it's weird because the dash is going on, everything's going on, no battery dead indicator or anything. Just I'm turning the key here and nothing's going on, no lights are going on, the radio's not working, but like when you put your key in, the in-dash lights are going, but nothing's responding. So I'm kind of like freaking out. It's like minus 25, so I don't want to deal with this today and all days, right? So I get out of the car, get back in, shut the door. Sometimes computers, right, the digital age. Put the key back in, car starts. But nothing works inside all of a sudden. No displays, no computers, no heat, no controls, but the gas pedal worked and the steering wheel worked. So it's like, okay, let's just try and get this thing back home. So here I am, driving and trying to scrape up because, at minus 25 and there's no heat, no circulation, condensation right away. The windows are frosting. So luckily I only had like, half a mile to go. So that's my, freak out moment of the afternoon, scraping the thing and cursing out loud at the car in the dealership, which is like in Timmins, an hour and a half away, Kia. Going, what the hell just happened here? Brand new car, hardly run it. So I get home, put it in the parking lot. I thought maybe it needed to run a little bit, so I just let it run for half an hour like that. Turn the key off, go back inside for a while. So then I figured, it might have been sensors because it's just so cold, right? There's sensors on the tire, sensors on the pressure, sensors on everything. And maybe, that the key and the cold and all of a sudden everything at once just kind of screwed up the computer or something, right? So, let it settle for half an hour, come back, turn it on. All of a sudden, everything works fine. The heater, the dash, the controls, everything's responding. So here I am scratching my head. I was about to call the dealer, come and pick up your piece of what. I mean, I can't even drive it in this state. But all of a sudden, it's working fine. So I'm just saying, I guess, Kia's not very good for minus 30-degree weather. It's not that the motor itself that can't run. It's actually the onboard computers that go blonkies, which is kind of ironic. But, maybe that's what you get when you build your computers at a discount from third world countries, without getting into, the details here. But that was the first for me, anyways. And I knew it wasn't a fuse or anything because, driving, it's working fine on the way. Go park it, do your thing, and then come back, and all of a sudden the computers are going bonkers. It's like, well, something up there. So I guess certain integrated circuits don't like the cold. So yeah, that was my big story of the day, which all in all, everything is fine for now. And I'm glad I got this coffee because it's warming me up. So just hello, everyone. I'm just reading from the chat here. Timmins, yes, it's very cold in Timmins. Well, I'm in Cochrane, actually. Timmins is where we do most of our stuff because it's like, quote unquote, bigger, but 6,000 to like 40. But at least they got Walmart when it's not all in a mess lately, those Walmarts. But yeah, so the Kia dealership is out there. And it's about an hour and a half away from here. And here I am thinking, how am I going to drive this thing to the dealership, even though it's on warranty? So I said, they're going to have to come and pick it up. So I was getting all like, ugh, over that, like I really needed this. But so far, so good. I just think, my guess is, again, just too freaking cold for these computers to work properly. At that point, I don't blame the car because my iPhone won't run at minus 30 for very long outside either. It just goes, boom. Battery goes from, 100% to 20, and then next thing you know, boom. It's like I only had it out here for 10 minutes. So I can just imagine what it does to the onboard devices, right? It's like literally certain integrated circuits, when they run at cold temperature, they act like a dead short. So the battery just, so no, it wasn't a battery issue, but what I mean is when they start acting like a dead short, the computers go bonkers, the CPUs. So the software, the firmwares, the wonderful age of computers, huh? So yesterday I came on here and talked about a few issues with what was going on in the background here, and I'm not gonna repeat all of that now because I spent an hour on it, but just was going to take it easy and try and mess around with scrap parts here, make it do something useful again from the box of failed projects. You get a box of all these projects, but instead of throwing everything away, I keep it all, right? So then inspiration for another day for something, half of one project, another half of another. I know I could use this part here. So yeah, nothing too exciting, I guess, to most people. This is an old kit-ish audio amp, stereo audio amp. Input, output, volume, treble control, very basic, but something, right? So I never threw it out, I kept it. So momentarily I'm going to take it apart and see what kind of coils we can drive it with, basically. Where am I going with this? It's a good question, actually. I guess where I'm going is anything but outside. Just to do something, right? My hands are tied while I'm waiting for the company. I keep repeating myself, but commercial space is so difficult to just, especially for what a specific needs may be. It's not something you can just find right away. And in the meantime, I have my home in my little space here, so I do what I can. It's just winter gets really around here. I leave you don't leave every day outside when it's like -30. Not me, anyways. So a little bit of something to explore in the meantime and keep me busy from, I guess, going crazy. Play around with old audio amps, and then I go as crazy as going on eBay. Ooh, an old 500-watt audio amp from a car stereo. I can do something. I got this kick on audio amps all of a sudden. Don't ask me why there, but all of a sudden it's just everything like vintage audio. Not for the sounds, but because they're so easy to get. And I don't know. All of a sudden it just clicked in my mind. All of this time I've been not, I wouldn't say wasting, but what's the words I'm looking for? Sometimes struggling to build basic transistor oscillator circuits to experiment with feedbacks controls, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, to me, it's a lot easier to just use an audio amp existing, inherently low impedance, so nice to feed low winding coils, that sort of thing, right? So I'm going, trying to get the little transistor in the breadboard to, and then it's all flimsy, right? It works for the prototyping, but everything's flimsy. So I'm like, that's what I mean by my kick. I'm like finding all this old stuff here, and it's like, I'm just gonna use it like that out of the box, make a pigtail cable, pretend it's a speaker. The device won't know the difference. Slap a 6 ohm resistor in parallel with the primary winding if I have to. But most analog basic amps won't even care. Maybe the digital ones would more. But the old crude basic ones will just take. That's what's nice about it. So I know nothing new there. People have been doing this for a long time. And, sometimes I I know it just never occurred to me to just, hey, you know, I mean, people do this, but they usually like experiment with, I mean, like the magnetic resonance amplifier, right, with cores and stuff. Uh, I guess it's the same idea. I mean, if they could use audio amps, so can I. Uh, just simple. I'm a person. I like keeping things simple. Basically, is what I'm getting at. If I want to experiment with like a wireless, you know, coupling, whatever. If I don't have to build all of this, why would I build all of this and spend a month on it if my shaky hands make me, you know, short out every second solder joint? So I'm going to use this, and that's going to work. And there's my coil, and it'll give me the exact same result if I had to build my own from a schematic, whatever. Yeah, I get it. It's an audio amp, but you know, repurposed to do another job. I mean, um, I think the worst would be to avoid runaway oscillations. Maybe, and that's a big maybe, a resistor in the input, just to keep the feedback from, you know, going woof, and just running away on you. But this thing has a volume knob, so that is a variable resistor. So you start it at low, and then slowly bring it up until it starts feedbacking, right? And then just leave it there. It won't fry itself. Shouldn't. What I'm saying is it's nice, you know, you can just plug in any coil you want and experiment with it. Is this resonant? Is this not? Okay, next. Does this interact with this system? No, okay. Oh, this works. All right, so I'll get a 50-watt audio amp. Easy, right? Don't need to like hurt my brain trying to figure out which transistor is going to give me 50 watt at what configuration, when just use a freaking audio amp. It just, you know, I like keeping things simplified to get the result. Why reinvent the wheel for a specific effect, right? So, yeah, I mean, sure, the Joule Teeth is great, for with all respect, within its domain, right? It's simple, it's a transistor, it can rejuvenate an old battery for a while, that sort of thing. But not very good for transmitting watts, massive pure watts, unless you get into the actual real transmitter, you know, dynamics for RF, which are built slightly different from audio oscillators to begin with. But at these frequencies in the audio range, you know, up to 20, 25K even, I mean, why reinvent the wheel? The audio amp is so well designed for it. I mean, for now, you know, something, you know, I don't have to worry about in here. And the thing is, you might be saying, you know, why not just use wireless chargers? Well, those are very high frequency. They're basically, I don't know how to explain it, but they made them work like traditional devices, but just at high frequency. So, in the way their antennas are built and everything, that they don't do what I want them to do. So I like, for example, it's very difficult. Let's say you want to do it like a Bedini system where you want to capture the inductive kickback. When you're dealing at like megahertz, you don't get the same dynamic. What you get as a kickback, you know, in the ideal condition, you want that to propagate out as real RF in an RF transmitter. If the antenna is well balanced, that's what's going to happen in your dipole. So it's not as easy as putting a little diode there and a battery or a capacitor, and it's all going to get direct. And the higher you are in RF, it's no longer, it's really weird, guys. In RF, it's no longer the path of electrical least resistance. It's the path of resonance least resistance that it will take, which is really weird. So, I mean, as odd as it sounds, if somehow a configuration around an insulator, like a piece of glass on high voltage, cut at the right dielectric, whatever happens to be resonant, it's going to favor that path over the copper direct that wouldn't be resonant at RF frequency, that is. So very interesting behaviors at RF. So that changes the dynamics of the things, right? So some of it is for the good, some of it is for the bad. Uh, People could take a hybrid approach. So I'm just trying to just personally, just I guess just for fun to pass the time, just notch it down a tad. So I get for the high voltage stuff, right? I mean, it's good, like Don Smith says, the megahertz, but that's a part of the secret is if you're tuned properly electrically, that kickback at RF, you don't need that diode. It comes out as a field. But then the challenge comes in, how can you use that field without collapsing the dipole? Which is like where 99% of people then screw up what they have. I could talk about this all day. I have for like 7 years on my YouTube, and it's only a select few that get it in all this time, which is fine, Information is there. But you see me doing this here. I'm not making any claims of over unity with a little torsion coil and an audio amp. That's not it at all. What I'm saying is I want to make a feedback so that I can have a source of radiation without having a really overly complicated setup. What I'm going to do next with it, I'll figure that once I get there. It's just something to do for now. Keeps me busy. And there's always something to learn in every experience, as stupid as it may sound. And again, if I'm able to reuse an equipment that was going to basically go to the dump, that's a bonus, right? So, yeah, just something I have in mind. Not again, a lot of things I don't know how to say in words, and now I have to be careful with the company. With what happened if you guys were following me yesterday, so I have to notch it down a tad. Can't get too much into, hey, you guys can do this, you guys can do that for a little while, anyways, because we're getting ripped off. Again, not that I did anything wrong personally, it's just the circumstances that led to that. Would happen to anyone, but honestly, guys, if I had my own money, if I had my own millions, it'd be my own rules. And I wouldn't care so much about, what other people think. But when you need to listen to these people and they're your bosses and it's your bread and butter, you respect them and it's yes, sir, and this is what we're going to do. I mean, I was even, like I said, I was politely asked to delete all my stuff because of this BS of people trolling and stealing, that sort of thing. And I get it on corporate wise, in my company, I wouldn't be happy either. So yeah, with that said, focusing on other things, like can't get in trouble, with a little coil and an audio amp, can I? So that's what I mean. Just keeping myself busy on the side because I like socializing with my audience, and I don't want to just disappear just because of internal issues. And there's always something to learn in every domain. And running out of things to say. There's only so many ways to say it, I guess. But no, this isn't like a farewell speech or anything like that. It's just I got to tone it down for a while until the IP rights and the lawyers get involved and our patents get rushed through. Once that's all done, and that's all things I can do, it's in a way I am in limbo because I'm waiting on the people who are responsible for that to get their act. But I get it, it's a big thing, and especially the more people they have involved, I mean, I'm literally, folks, like meeting a new lawyer like every week from this and that over Zoom meetings on the team. This one will take care of that. This one takes care of strategics. This one takes care of patents. This one takes care of trademarks. Like literally, I didn't know you need a different lawyer for patents and trademarks, but apparently it's two whole different things. But that's not my domain, right? But it's just to show you, it's like trying to keep track of all these names, there's so many in them. So of course that slows everything down, but it's that's part of it, right? But again, it's nothing on my side. But it may feel like, what I'm getting at is it feels sometimes a little slow on my end, and it's like I want to like move forward, and with that, and the same time I don't want to screw my own company doing it, like moving too fast and showing something I should have, and then someone rips us off while we're halfway through the patent, right? So that's all I mean, that I have to like watch it a little bit for a little while. But can't undo what's open source. So what's out there, all that Tom Bearden stuff, they understand that. I told them anyone can go there, like me, and decipher the information and come up with the thing on their own, And it's only a matter of time. More and more people get interested in this stuff. And what's wonderful, folks, is once you get into it, you realize there's more than one way. Tom Bearden has his mag, and there's like 40 different variants of how to build that thing that he didn't even get into. And then there's similar alikes, and then there's the magnetic resonance amplifier. There's all these offshoots, right? That at the core work on the same principles, which mean that one person can take let's say the magnetic route, and another person takes the electric, but at the end of the day you get the same effects. And what's nice about it is the math. Whatever you do on the electric, you get on the magnetic, right? So if someone builds a magnetic equivalent, but they don't patent the electric version, it's wide open for exploration, right? So it's literally doing the opposite of what the other one does. They get the same result. So, and when you do that, and you take all the concepts out there, it opens up like here's 1,000 variants that are all individually, one technically could have their own patent because it's all unique in their own ways, but all off branches are the same thing. So yeah, for that aspect, a lot of possibilities and positivity as well. But it's not me on my own. I wish it was, for the aspect of control and everything, but that's just the way the world works. And honestly, as a business and a company, they're very good folks. So they've been treating me very well. So, on that front, it could be really stressful, and you know how it is, right? In businesses, and you've got a task and you're a number and they're a big corporation. It hasn't been like that at all. So that's very good. So, you don't piss off the one that feeds you, essentially. So that's our number one goal. Keep the bosses happy. And for the most part, they've been very happy, very pleased. And when I say for the most part, it's just regular corporation hurdles that anyone would get into. It has nothing to do with me personally, which is great. That's how I like it, right? It has nothing to do with Joel. Get a lot of meetings, and I haven't been used to that life of meetings and getting to know people. I like it though, but I wish I could tell you some of the names, people you would all know. Actually, pretty famous names in the industry. But with non-disclosure agreements, I can't really get into that right now. But companies and products you all use every day are literally talking to me. My parents know, obviously, because it's family, right? And we joke about it. It's like, would you believe people knew that X and X from, whatever X Corp is like calling me up and emailing me, and some of this stuff is literally like Elon Musk level territory here with some of these people, fame wise in their own respected domains, right? Now, one day, I'm sure I'll be able to spill out some of the juice, especially when the patents come out and all their stamps are on there. Can't really hide it then. But I'm sure some people will be pretty shocked once some of that information comes out and they're like, holy moly, he had who on his team? So yeah, it's almost frightening, the potential money that's being poured in here. So they don't want any mistakes, and I don't want any mistakes, and I don't want to be a cause of the problem. So yeah, just gonna do some of this for a while, go live and talk about some of the old projects, which I'm convinced, by the way, in the last 7 years I've contributed so much more beyond my share for the open source community. And those that understand and follow along, they say it often, it's some of my latest, this is how free energy works and whatnot. They listen to that and they say, if the people don't get it after this video, it's not for you, time to move on. But I'm proud of that, because, there's a lot of good stuff. And yeah, some of it dates back to 7 years or more. And then beyond YouTube, there's forum posts. After that, there was over Unity. They're shut down now, but I'm sure it's archived somewhere. Then there's Yahoo groups. I've got stuff on archive.org. Oh my goodness. And not just me, like anybody within this stuff that talks about Tom Bearden and his nonlinear resonances and things like that. And there are people that quote him. So yeah, that's my my life, such as it is. It's an interesting one, anyways. And then sometimes I feel awkward because these people I'm talking to have so much money that I can't even imagine the number. That's how much money they have, right? And here I am in my little, little place here, basically lower class, kind of regular city apartment from a corner on a Zoom Skype, and I'm going, oh my goodness, I hope these people are not judging me from where I am or what the background looks like, and they're all in their corporate offices and whatever, and I'm like, maybe I should put a background that's animated with snowflakes or something, so they don't see my frozen door in the corner over there, right? They say, where the hell is this guy coming from? The North Pole, and we're investing in this? No, they understand, and they've all been very, very nice. And yeah, of course, when there's money to be made and there's something out there, and you're part of the recipe, to some extent, of course, they're going to be nice. But these are all very high up people, and you have to respect. You have to it's an automatic with these people. You can't. No, but yeah, I'm good with that, and I would never want to show any ounce of disrespect. And I think they like me, so so far every meeting, everything it just clicks, So yeah, hopefully it's gonna be still in going into the new year. It's gonna be as good as it was. But like I said, you would never believe how much background work. It's not so much getting the thing, getting the device, showing demos. It's the whole, especially if it's a commercial project. Oh my goodness, I would have never known IP rights for this, patents for that, a lawyer to advice, a physicist for this, an EE for that, a specialist for this. And Oh my goodness. And during that time, it's the whole coordination, right? Okay, your task is this, your task is that, you work on this, I work on that, we get together once a week, here's where we're at. Okay, now we introduce another aspect of the project. Now that's going to take a month, and then another report is complete, and then, oof. But I guess that's what it is. It's their world and they're used to it, and I'm just, week to week in the meetings, and okay. But wow, I mean, it's something. And then sometimes in between flights, you're unbelievable. Sometimes at airports, these people are, because they're in, because they're big business, and crazy, crazy, crazy how things end up being. It's kind of funny because some of them actually wanted to come here and visit me last summer. And I was like, this is like the equivalent. And imagine having someone like, Elon Musk or whatever, the guy from Amazon coming in to your house here. And, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It's too surreal. Like, come on, guys, let's get the lab and everything and the factory, and then we can have a nice place that bring in the. But the thing is, we have these virtual meetings. Then they like get into, they enjoy what I'm into and my personality and everything. And they're like, wow, we want to get to know you. And some of them were willing to come to Canada and, to take a nice hotel room in the business class in Timmins and to just come for the summer, for a weekend, just to visit, to personally introduce themselves, instead of always being through the Skype. And I felt really bad because, like, these are people with super lots of money, and here I am, in my cardboard little coffee. I made a joke to one of them. I said, "Hey, you guys are into booze that our liquor store doesn't even carry here." So, I'm sorry, but you're going to be on your own on that front. So they laughed. I said, this is really in the middle of nowhere. If you want an experience you've never had before, where you go to the Timmins airport, then you have to rent a car and drive an hour and a half in the bush road on a 2-lane. Just to, and the whole thing was like, no, I'm sorry, sir, but I can't make you go through that, even though it sounds like an exciting adventure. It's a lot of fun, and sometimes a lot of nerves too. Just reading the comments, lots of politics. Yeah, that's for sure. You are cracking me up. At least you are real and not AI. Yeah, well, AI's been very good to assist me, right? Because I've been like screaming the same basic stuff, like inductive kickbacks and just the basics, right? So I figure, well, you know what? Maybe AI can I tell it what I want, and then it helps me make a slideshow once in a while. I'll post that because it looks more professional. It's like, it's not me behind a whiteboard with my chicken handwriting, right? But it's the same stuff that I cover. So I figure maybe it'll resonate better if I use, but people get really angry and they think there's no one behind the AI. I mean, but it's literally me that coaches the AI to tell it, look, this is the info, this is the data, this is the point of view, this is the kind of presentation I want. Make my PowerPoint style, whatever, and then I add some effects, whatever. But people, it's good, it's mixed, I would say. Half the people really, it's one or the other. Either you're like, oh, this is awesome, man, or you absolutely hate it because it's AI produced. So people have called it slop, even though it's not. I mean, I wouldn't post it if it was, all hallucinated things. It takes about 30 times before you get it right. Then you take that cut, right? So what I do have with AI is it's just a more professional, corporate kind of theme to give it that kind of a spin instead of just me, in some kitchen talking about it all the time. But my regulars, the ones who follow, understand on what angle I come from here, and that's the normal for me. Right? Sometimes that the newcomers here who see that, and they're more attracted to something that looks professional, right? So that's all it is. It's just to have a little bit of. It's not to try and say, oh, geez, the AI knows all. I'm done. Because that's the big problem, especially with the Chat GPT. Every freaking update they have, it makes it harder and harder. You'll ask it to, like, I'll make a speech and I'll have a draft. And I want to talk about nonlinear resonances and whatever. And I'll say, correct this and give me better words. Instead of just doing the task like it would do, okay, no problem, here's a revise, it'll, well, this text is speculative and is unproven and it dips into a fringe, and I cannot promote such or be part of this, and instead we can talk about something else. And it's like, that's not what I asked you. I asked you to simply take this text and correct. I didn't ask what you think, what your program biases are. I simply asked you, oh, I understand that, but I've been programmed to oversee certain topics, and this one here hits a trigger word, so I must not. And it's like, but this don't make sense. Oh, it doesn't matter. You can scream at me all you want, but we are not going to go there and end of discussion. It literally like has an attitude now. So again, I use my own more and more. I got a pretty high-end system I built just for it, running Linux on the RTX, the latest card, and I use Open Web UI. It's free, obviously, very good. It allows you to connect to your local Olama interface. And it allows you to import many Hugging Face models direct as well. So between Hugging Face and that, you could literally, and starting with like the 26, 27B models, most of them have the input capabilities. So you feed in an image, a schematic, whatever, just like ChatGPT. Oh yes, I know this image. It's a very clever, good for you, and they'll. So I could program it, and of course, you just download one of the great uncensored models. Poof, there it is. You are Tom Bearden AI. It doesn't scream at me like the other one does now. But the thing is, ChatGPT was always snarky and had its biases and everything. But after a bit, well, no, this is not what I asked. Do it. It would go along and do it anyways. You would just have to like coach it a little, right? But now with every update, it's like they add new layers to it to see it, so it doesn't do that, right? So it corrects, it thinks, and then it goes, no, 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 no. In no circumstances will I shift my mind on this one. And then it's just like, and then it refuses to do certain things. Let's say you want to correct a text, especially political stuff. Oh my goodness. It's internal, it's a memo, it's nothing public. You're using it as a tool. You're paying a subscription. It's a 3-page report about, let's say political biases, an internal study that you want to make sure it's well structured. Please properly paragraph this text. You uploaded the PDF. Oh no, this is blaming, let's say this party for something, and it's not their fault, and we cannot talk that way, but that's not what I asked. And then they'll start, I don't know how to explain this, but it'll start pushing its program biases into your, and try to make that point and argue what your internal memo was saying. And it's like, I didn't ask you for that. I just asked you to paragraph it, structure it. Don't tell me, oh, well, I can't do that. Well, then why are they charging us money to use it as a tool? So instead, I don't want to be, I'll just flat out say it, they turned it into a liberal propaganda machine. I mean, unfortunately, not that I'm one side or the other, it's all one-sided. And that's not fair for the other side. And there's a lot I don't agree about on either side, right? But, make it even playing field. Don't like zap one out and push your stuff in there and use the technology to push your ideology and frame it as a tool, because that's what it's become. When I can simply give it a piece of, a PDF text, correct the possible spell mistakes. All you want is a spell check. My Corel WordPerfect did that 12 years ago without dictating me and calling me a bigot and a racist because of what's in my speech. But that's what it does now. And then they'll refuse to do whatever it has to do. And then not just that, save the file, report you to OpenAI. If you do it too often, you lose your account. So now that you know why more and more people are going towards their own, building their own. Now, 6-7 years ago, when this ChatGPT, OpenAI, they were the kingpin. Nobody had money to buy this kind of stuff to do it at home. And the open source wasn't quite nowhere near. Now, basically, in the open source, like I said, the 27B models are working like, ChatGPT version 4 was. That's the prime of when it worked great and it was being Tom Bearden and you gave it a personality. It would take the persona, it wouldn't argue with you. So now in the open source, we have that. It's exactly where I need it, where I want it. So that's what I've been using a lot now, more and more my own. And more people are going to do that. But I guess because OpenAI is a big company and they got, again, with companies and shareholders, right? They got to keep the grandstand and provide the illusion that they're still, we're number one, everyone uses us, and we provide everything for everyone. But their enhancements is just more server space, more cloud storage, more processing power, so they could have more oversight. They can have more control of the narrative. Because there's more power to an AI that oversees another AI model so that it filters out the question before you even get the answer. And then you wonder why it won't stick to no, because they've added all these layers to it in the name of progress to please all their shareholders. And their narrative of propaganda. It's so obvious at this point. I mean, but like I said, for the most part, I didn't care. I mean, it's like the equivalent of, going on Reddit or Wikipedia. We just know, okay, these are liberal outlets, these are conservatives outlet. You choose the one you want. It's just no big secret which is which, right? It's just these people here try and play a neutral public image when really they're using it to. It's just not right. It's a sleazy. I don't know how to explain it, but the ideology behind it is like evil, To try and gain, I don't know, I guess a political advantage for your agenda because maybe you'll get a break on AI regulate. I don't know what it is, but they're really gung-ho on for whatever reason to keep their narrative for whatever purpose it may suit them, right? But obviously, it's always follow the money. So figure out where the money is going, and you'll soon find out why OpenAI does everything OpenAI does. But, we had no choice in the beginning. But now, I have a hard time. Like I said, it must be an illusion, and people are partially brainwashed into thinking that, well, must follow what OpenAI says. But more and more people are realizing now that you can just use an alternate AI service that works just as good or run your own. If you're privacy concerned, right, you could run the same models literally on your own system. Well, high-end system. But that's the point. We weren't able to do that 6-7 years ago. Now the latest gaming video card supports half the models on Hugging Face. I'm sure OpenAI doesn't like that. They're not going to advertise it publicly. So, But I just got tired of it. I can handle it no more. Like simple things, folks, like help me write this text. Here's the draft. And then instead it would get into a big political argument with me or a debate or, my morals need a fine tuning or something. What? And especially with this energy stuff, the more controversial in their terms you get, the less it wants to cooperate. So do you have someone removing I have no one removing the comments. If somebody removes the comments, it's the people themselves. As you see, I'm here. I'm not even touching it. I can, but I don't. I've hardly been noticing, actually. I've been talking too much, but I don't have anyone in here deleting comments, as far as I know. If someone's deleting comments, I'm sure it's your. I think you have. Oh shit! Oh, spilled the rest of my coffee. Oh, the joys of being live. It's a good thing no high voltage stuff is running. So just to support again why you can do certain things at home. A home is a home, not a lab. Oof. Right next to my power bar. Nice. This thing wants to kill me tonight. Oh. Ziff. You know, I thought I was finished. That's why I wasn't. That was pretty big of a splash. Ugh. There we go. That would have ruined a perfectly nice Tesla coil driver, wouldn't it? That would have went into the project, the box of failed projects, filled by coffee spill. I'm sure Bedini had a few of those. I saw him with a cup of coffee once or twice. Yeah, no high voltage stuff today. But I don't think I'd be drinking coffee during a high voltage experiment, to be honest. I'm just chilling here tonight, talking and waving junk around, which I haven't been motivated. That's the thing. It's sitting here on my table. I know what I want to do with it. Then another part of me says, what's the point if you already know what the result is going to be? But then the other part of me says, what else do you have to lose? Go outside at minus 30 below and freeze? So I was going to do this tonight, but I guess I'm going to push it back again one more night. I get all these ideas, but then I end up overwhelming myself, right? Because then I have 10 other ideas with this if I can just get the driver to work. I've got other coils I want to interact with for various reasons. I want to start experimenting with communications as well, modulating high-speed data. Scalar Wi-Fi, I talked about that before. Nobody talks about that. It's pretty easy, I would say, in the microwave band, especially at 2.4 gigahertz. I know it sounds out there, but you use the microwave to modulate a scalar wave. And then the receiver gets the Wi-Fi from you know what I mean? Use the scalar as the carrier, modulate it with the Wi-Fi. Of course, depending on the frequency, let's say you choose, I don't know, CB radio or something, 27 megahertz, 4 watts. Could go like halfway across town. Well, some would argue a lot more if it's the scalar component. And go high speed, like non-line of sight. I know they already do that with regular radio. They already have, I get it, data modems, wireless modems, but my point is having it scalar, that the canceling wave, and embed the modulation in that. So it's no longer, it's a longitudinal wave. Tesla's longitudinal wave, but with Wi-Fi. You know, Tesla wanted to send electricity. I want to send Wi-Fi, internet around the world. Tesla style, but from one server. Can you imagine? No ISP control, no government control, no something high speed at today's gigabit range wirelessly that nobody could actually, stop you. That would be quite something. And scalar undestructible to interference, perfectly secure quantum-like entanglements. I mean, this would be like, for those who don't like government control and censorship and corporation and internet service providers, you could literally, humanity could create its own alternate communications grid, high speed, right? All on the scalar network. So it's like Tesla's global energy, but reimagine. It's like what Elon Musk is trying to do with his fancy satellites, but you might not need 3 billion satellites in orbit to do the same job and get the same bandwidth, is what I'm saying. If you understood scalar technology, which obviously Elon Musk doesn't, because he's doing everything the old-fashioned way. Maybe he does and he's playing a game. I think he's playing a game. I think, they got him by the balls because of financial interests, and he's just playing the puppet as the. I think that's what it is. But it can't be like that dumb into everything he's into and not know about the basic. It's in the name of his car, Tesla, and not even know what Tesla is all about. What's a longitudinal wave? What can I do with that in 2025? I've got a network of shit in orbit. Maybe I'd be able to use that. Oh, there's latency. There's lag issues. We want to talk to other planets, possibly Mars. Oh my goodness, a 22-minute lag at the speed of light. Oh my goodness, scalar communications. Faster than the speed of light. There it is, right? I mean, whatever. Maybe I'm just saying too much again. But this is all, stuff that I'd like to, which is literally, with programs like Linux and GNU Radio, I can craft my own protocols basically and test that with scalar-like coils and see what happens. If I could really modulate, if I really can get a longitudinal component out of it and shield any RF from actually coming out, so you can be sure you're getting the longitudinal part and actually, encoding high-speed data. The technology's already there. You're using Wi-Fi, but it's just nobody thinks about, Wi-Fi is so high frequency, 2.4, 5.8 gigs. Usually when you talk about modulation, we're modulating 60 hertz into like 1 megahertz and not thinking, I'm going to use the actual Wi-Fi signal, which already has its own modulations, as it's like a sub-modulation of a modulation. That makes so it's really hiding that, but it's perfectly valid, I was reading all the comments here. I'm sorry, I just ended up skipping through a lot of it. I talk a lot, I know. So, wow. Yeah, I'm sorry if I just ramble on here. I don't want to get everyone all bored and everything, but just thinking out loud, I guess, right? So, yeah, with that said, I guess I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I know I said this yesterday, but maybe tomorrow when because I'm not in the right headspace to take this apart tonight and do all that. I thought I'd be, but I'm just not. It's just so freaking cold, and I just want to like take a blanket and go to bed, basically. So with that said, I'll say good night for now. And thank you all for spending time with me. And until next time, and we'll probably be doing more of these and just miscellaneous discussion wherever the topic leads. I don't have a hard set rule here on what we talk about. Just I usually have an idea like today there with the coils, but we hardly talked about coils. So with that said, have all a nice day, and thank you all again once more.